What is up, everybody? Welcome back to Scott's Scoop. I'm here with Connor Hopkins today. He's one of the top independent wrestlers, in my opinion. He's incredible, and it's an honor to have you on the show. So thank you again for agreeing to come on.
Thank you so much, man. It really means a lot to be here. So thank you for having me.
Thank you. And I wanted to start from the beginning, I guess. When and why did you really get into wrestling as a kid?
Yeah, that's a great question. I got into wrestling as a kid actually like because one of my best friends growing up had started watching it. And so we started watching it together in probably 2007, 2008. Um And I went through the usual thing, that kids go through. They get attracted to the bright lights and the colors and the guys with face paint. So it's no wonder that like Jeff Hardy and The Undertaker became my guys like right away. Um, and yeah, that's really what drew me in was just like, I was always involved in sports growing up, but I also like did a lot of like theater and performing arts and things like that. And it even from a young age I could tell that wrestling was kind of the perfect blend between those two.
Definitely. And growing up, did you have any like looking back on it, like from where you are now, I guess you could say, did you have any inspirations that you wanted to like kind of emulate or like just really look up to, I guess, in a way?
Oh, totally. So like I watched pretty religiously for several years and then kind of fell out of it as I hit junior high, early high school. And then picked it back up again because I noticed CM Punk was still around. And Punk was somebody that I was always drawn to. He's somebody that I do take a lot of inspiration from. But as I started to discover more of the independents and things like that, Adam Cole became one of my absolute favorites. I started watching Ring of Honor like in the early days of the Kingdom when it was, Adam Cole, Matt Taven, Mike Bennett, and Maria. And, just that kind of really bought me in on the indies. And, apart from that, just watching guys like Edge and Chris Jericho and Shawn Michaels, the ones that everybody says. But yeah, Punk and Adam Cole are two that I really take a lot from.
Definitely. And it's actually pretty funny that you say that because I remember I was watching the latest DREAMWAVE Wrestling show and seeing you come out with Those Damn Coyotes. And, I just saw like a lot of that heelish like faction, like that you could compare to the Straight Edge Society or Undisputed Era or Undisputed Elite, whatever you want to call it. I know they're kind of faces now, but you know what I mean. But,
Yeah.
that's awesome, though. That's really something.
Yeah. And
So, oh, sorry.
no, go
Sorry.
ahead.
No, you're good.
I was just going to add, like, yeah, absolutely. The stuff that we're doing with the Coyotes it draws from a lot of different great factions over the years, and some like kind of under the radar ones.
Definitely. And we'll touch more on that later because I
Yeah.
definitely want to talk about your forming that. But I guess fast forwarding a little bit from like when you were younger, like, when and why did you really start training? Like when did you realize like you wanted to be a wrestler, I guess you could say.
Oh man, I knew I wanted to be a wrestler forever. Like me and my friends would wrestle in my basement on mattresses and couches and stuff. Um, then I begged my parents to get a trampoline so that we could wrestle on the trampoline. So we did a lot of that. And really the impetus for, actually becoming a wrestler came when a buddy of mine that I went to high school with, Bailey Bright, pointed out to me. He's like, "Hey, man, you're a big wrestling fan. We wrestled in the backyard all the time. Um, you ever thought about doing this for real?" And I was like, "Yeah, absolutely. Like, I just haven't been able to find a place to like go train." And so he pointed me in the direction of ZOWA, ZOWA. It's a training school in northwestern Illinois. They also run a lot of live events in that area. And so 6 days after I graduated high school, I started training. Um, and yeah, I mean, from there, it really just took off. But yeah, I mean, as far as when I wanted to be a wrestler, I knew almost from day one that that is what I wanted to do.
Definitely. I always loved, I'm sorry, I always loved growing up as a kid. seeing that "Don't try this at home." Never listened to that. Never listened to that a day in my
Oh,
life.
not a
But
chance.
nope. I remember I was onto my friend. We were on my friend's trampoline, and I thought it would be funny to hit him with an RKO. I was like probably what, like 12 at the time, give or take. Bad idea.
Yeah. Hmm.
Very bad. But
Oh,
you
I got in
know,
trouble
oh, sorry.
for I got in trouble all the time for doing wrestling moves to my sister.
Oh,
I remember one time I gave her a pedigree onto the couch and uh, did not let go of her arms because I didn't realize that's what you're supposed to do, and she was not happy about it.
yeah. I mean, they never teach you that. They just say, "Don't try this at home." But I'm just like,
Yep.
it looks fun though, so
Yeah.
why not? Yeah, it is what it is. But
Mhm.
so, when you started training at ZOWA, did you have any mentors, I guess you could say, or anyone that you really attribute a lot of your success to?
Totally. More than anything, there's one man in particular that I can attribute almost everything to, and that's Christian Rose. He had a hand in training me at ZOWA. I'm definitely one of his kids. He's been around forever. He's done a lot. You've seen him at DREAMWAVE. Um, yeah, he is definitely someone who has had a huge hand in making me the wrestler that I am today.
Definitely. He's someone who I think also doesn't really get talked about as much as he probably should, because he's like really that match he had with Johnny Dreamwave, or for those who don't know, frequently known as John Morrison, formerly known as John Morrison. That match that they put on was great, and obviously for Johnny to get into that car accident the same day and still make it is also very impressive.
Which, let me tell you, things were coming down to the wire for that match. I was nervous and like I didn't have to worry about anything in it.
Yeah. So a little bit about your time at ZOWA. You got to win the Mr. ZOWA title like pretty early on in your career. What was that like already, like fairly early in your career, getting like a title already?
Yeah. I finished, I kind of finished training and then had to go to college because, it was something that I wanted to do and also my parents really wanted me to do. And so it was the start of my career was like kind of a really weird one because basically I trained for a summer um, and then went away to college and would basically, whenever I was home for break or vacation or whatever, would get in the ring and train more. And yeah, after my first year of college, I was in a ladder match for the Mr. Zawa title, um, which really was kind of a coming out party for me. It was the first time I had actually been involved in something with some substance. I had a big heel turn there, and yeah, really kickstarted a great run at Zawa. And yeah, it was really cool to be told. Again, I was like maybe a dozen matches in at that point. And it was really cool to be told, like, hey, we're going to give this to you. Like, here's what you got to do. You know, take this ball and run with it. It was a really cool thing. And like, it's definitely kind of a watershed moment for me. Like, there's a couple of standout points in my career, and that was definitely one of them.
Definitely. And massive congratulations for all you accomplished so far, but especially that so early on is awesome. And shortly after that, you actually got to team with the Soured Saints and, form that faction. What was it like working with them?
So it was a little weird because we all were, for lack of a better term, just green as grass. And being put together in this faction was a little bit tricky. Sometimes, just trying to figure out because we didn't even know really who we were as wrestlers. So trying to figure out who we were as a group was also kind of tricky. But it ended up being a lot of fun. I'm a guy who loves having goons. So to be able to like have that kind of story at my disposal, yeah, it was a lot of fun.
Definitely. And I feel like I'd be a little remiss not bringing up another part of your Zawa career so far, and that's all your matches with Cole Radrick.
Mhm.
You guys had hell matches together. You guys beat the hell out of each other. What was it like, working with him and like having that storyline, I guess you could say?
Yeah, it was working with Radrick was like one of the first times that I had really been taken outside of my comfort zone. because I had never worked with anybody like him, as far as hardcore stuff, as far as doing a lot in ring and moving fast, because I was trained kind of in the old school style, less is more, mileage plus, things like that. So it was really cool, like dipping my toe into that pool and just being like, all right, I can go, I can do these things. He absolutely ate me alive, basically that entire feud. But I still feel like I learned a lot. And yeah, it was a pretty cool little series of matches that we got to have there.
Definitely. And actually, that was one of my favorite matches of yours. Actually, when I went and did some research, I saw your steel cage match. I think it was either the steel cage or the last man standing one, and it was phenomenal.
Yeah. Well, so the steel cage was actually with Bucky Collins.
Okay, yeah,
Yeah, and if you want to talk about people who are underrated and need to be talked about more, Bucky Collins will be at the top of my list forever. Um, yeah, that steel cage match with Bucky and really tying up that whole story was awesome because that cage match with Bucky was the culmination of 2.5 years of storytelling at ZOWA, which is a really story centered product. So it was really cool to have all of that kind of payoff.
definitely. And actually, I did want to talk a little bit about Bucky as well because you actually won the ZOWA title from him. What was it like? You were just working with him, and the magic you guys put on together over the 2.5 years, like you just said.
It was awesome. It was some of the most fun I've had in wrestling because it started with me beating him for the title in a tournament in July of 2020, where there wasn't a lot of stuff happening in wrestling. We were still doing a lot of like low or no fans, masks, outdoor, like, yeah, keeping it really safe. And so starting by winning the title off of Bucky and then transitioning to him being like kind of my sycophant, my like biggest fan, literally renamed him Chip, which stood for Connor Hopkins intellectual property. That was just a lot of fun, like getting to team with him because he's just such a creative genius when it comes to the art of wrestling. Like his ideas are awesome. And so it was a lot of fun just being able to like team up with him and work a lot of that stuff out. And then, moving forward from that, when I lost the title and he turned on me, that kickstarted a whole nother thing, for another year, however long. So yeah, it was a really cool thing that we built through that.
Definitely. And I need to ask, what was it like having your first cage match? Like, was that a little intimidating knowing you're going to be inside of a giant cage?
Yeah, it was really intimidating. I spent a lot of time doing research because I'm just an absolute nerd about wrestling. And so yeah, just looking up, trying to think of the perfect way to cap off this story that has been told for so long. Um, the cage that we used, so again, because still coming out of the pandemic at that point, the actual cage that we ordered didn't arrive in time, so we had to make a makeshift cage.
Oh, wow.
And so we get a lot of grief sometimes about the chicken wire cage. It wasn't chicken wire, okay, it was cattle panel. So just a word to the wise there. But I think that the kind of rustic, grungy, kind of gross lookingness of the cage, I mean, we absolutely destroyed the cage. Um, like wires were coming out of it and stuff. And so I think that, for the live audience, that was something that was really cool because it was just another layer to how much we absolutely hated each other. That we literally had to be contained within a cage and we still broke the cage.
Yeah.
I
And I
think
was
it,
going to say, oh, sorry. Yeah. And I was going to say, I feel like it doesn't like, I mean, I feel like what the cage looks like looking back on it didn't really matter because you guys beat the hell out of each other inside of it regardless.
yeah, exactly. And like, what more could you ask for, really?
Definitely. And I want to switch gears a little bit now. I want to talk about Dreamwave, but for those of you who might be watching, go check out ZOWA. ZOWA is another incredible promotion as well.
Mhm. Yeah.
So at Dreamwave, we got to see the debut of probably one of my personal favorite new factions, I guess you could say, on the indie scene, Those Damn Coyotes. Obviously, that has grown with Christian Rose, but well, what's it like been forming that group?
Yeah. So TDC kind of came out of, myself, Deschain, Berna, and Rose, like we're all friends, we all train together, we all ride together to shows and stuff. And so we were kind of just spitballing the other day, or not the other day, several years ago at this point. And we're kind of thinking, like, hey, what if we, there was a bunch of like indie factions popping up. I was like, what if we did our own like Illinois thing, like our own little group? Uh, and we're a bunch of, quasi rednecks, some of us more than other, who love to gamble and fight and drink beer and swear. And so Rose at the time was going by the moniker Old Evil Bad Coyote. And so I was like, all right, what can we do with the Coyotes? Because we're kind of, disciples of Christian Rose and all this stuff. And so I ended up just throwing the name out there. What about those damn Coyotes? And yeah, the rest they say is history. But the nice, like, I think one of the best things about TDC is it's kind of been my brainchild from the beginning. So, like, I design all of the merch, I picked out the theme song, I've designed our gear. Like, so being able to be this hands on with a project that has seen some success is just awesome. It's so great. I love being able to have like a tangible effect, on the scene.
Definitely, and I will say a lot of credit. I love the theme song. When I heard the theme song, it really matched you guys. So great pick with that.
Thank you. I even did a little audio editing at the beginning to get the words in there and stuff. So that's actually my voice saying the those damn coyotes at the beginning. Fun
Oh
little Easter.
wow, that's interesting. I
Yeah.
didn't know.
Yeah.
So you guys got to work with 12 gauge and Hunter Holdcraft as well pretty early on. What was it like working with them and seeing how far they've come since then as well?
Man, so 12 gauge is somebody I've known since he was training in 2020, late 2019, early 2020. Um, and Hunter just came on the scene recently. I think the first time that me and Rose tagged against the hype against 12 gauge and Hunter, it was Hunter's sixth or seventh match. Um, and they are fantastic as a tag team. They complement each other so very well. They're both incredibly talented athletes. Hunter is unbelievably strong. And so, yeah, it was great getting to be in that tag match in December with them. I highly recommend going and checking out that match from Dreamwave, our tag match, because it genuinely might be the best tag match I've ever had.
I was gonna say I went back and actually watched that before this. That was a great match. That was really good. I will say it's on IWTV for those who might not know where it is, but that's where it is. I check out every Dreamwave show because even the last show that I was talking a little bit about with Christian Rose and Johnny Dreamwave, great. That was another phenomenal show.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
And that
Dreamwave is becoming like must see wrestling. I mean, it's always
oh,
been must see, but like some of the stuff that I've heard that's coming up this year, you've got to
oh,
be there.
and that actually leads me to my next question is, with Christian Rose and Vic Capri now entering the fray as well, what's it like been working with Vic Capri and like kind of, you guys screwed him over with Chris helping Christian out. What was that like? And what's it like working with him now?
Yeah, it's been a little conflicting because on the one hand, um, you know, Vic Capri should stay out of Coyote's business. Just saying. Keep it okay, pal. You had your time in the spotlight, but it's our time now. But also, the early 2000s indie wrestling nerd in me is always overjoyed to be working with Vic because he's seen and done it all. CM Punk was name checking him regularly on his live journal back in the day. Like, Vic has been everywhere and done everything, and he has a lot to teach not only his own students but the people that he wrestles in the ring as well. And also, he is double tough, one of the most intimidating human beings I've ever met. So, yeah, it's pretty cool.
And at the last show, you got to wrestle Vic Capri in a one-on-one match. What was it like working with him in that one-on-one setting as opposed to like kind of just running in and like beating the hell out of him like a few as you did the few previous shows?
Yeah. It was awesome. I had wrestled Vic before, but it was on an outdoor show where it was like 95 degrees outside, and neither of us, well, Vic did because he's in incredible shape, and I just wasn't. We didn't really do that much. So this was a great redemption to prove that we can have an awesome match together. And yeah, we beat the hell out of each other. It was great. I loved it. So much fun.
And the and your upcoming match that just got announced as well for June 17th is against Stephen Wolf, who is another absolutely tremendous wrestler.
Mm-hmm.
What's it like knowing that you're about to be going one-on-one with him, as well as like, having the outside interference of those damn coyotes probably at your behind your back? What's it like?
Oh, I'm not sweating it one bit. Me and Wolf, we are tied up right now. Our series is at 1-1. He beat me early on in my career. I beat him when I was ZOWA Live champion. We've both grown tremendously since then. But oh yeah, I got insurance, man. He doesn't. He's a lone wolf or whatever. But like coyotes travel in packs, my man. Always got to watch your back.
Definitely. And I just wanted to end off the interview with this. I same question I end off every interview on.
Hmm?
What's next for you? Do you have any future goals or future opponents that you would like to face?
Oh man, there's a lot that is next. Um, you know, I broke into the Twin Cities area, the Upper Midwest, about this time last year, and I feel like there's still a lot left to accomplish up there. I finally beat Eric Cannon for the first time. I'm never gonna stop rubbing that in his face. Um, I think I think honestly, my next goals are I want to wrestle Darren Corbin again. Um, I would love to wrestle Effie at some point. Um,
That would be great.
yeah, I want to go international. That's a goal of mine this year. Um, Otherwise, just keep on doing what I'm doing, moving up in the ranks. It seems like people are enjoying the product that I'm putting out. Um, I've finally kind of settled into my groove of, not being overly concerned about trying to be one thing and instead just being myself. And it seems to be working for me. So, yeah, as far as what's next and what I want to accomplish, I just want to wrestle more places. I want to be everywhere. I want to go everywhere. I want to see everything. I want to do all of the milestones. I got to wrestle at First Avenue last year, which is awesome for me being a huge music guy. So, yeah, more stuff like that, please.
Definitely. And do you have a merch store or any socials that I could plug and do you want to put it in a video as well?
Yeah, totally. So you can follow me on Twitter at Hopper 2017. It was a Twitter handle I made when I was in high school. I really need to change it. It's kind of silly, but at Hopper 2017 on Twitter. On Instagram, I'm at Connor underscore Hopkins 98. Um, yeah. Otherwise, on Facebook, you can look me up, Connor Hopkins dash professional wrestler. Um, yeah, I don't have an online merch store yet, but it's something that I'm working on. There's a TDC Teespring coming soon, hopefully.
Okay,
Um,
awesome.
yeah, it's like been a side project of mine that's been on the back burner for way too long, and I need to just get it done and get it out there. But otherwise, yeah, you can find me with merchandise wherever I'm wrestling. I do a lot of fun music parody shirts like these.
I like that shirt a lot. That's
Yeah,
that's a
hey,
nice one.
brother, limited release, but
That is a nice one.
yeah. Um, yeah, I mean, as far as plugs go, oh, I have a documentary that I made as a senior project in college. It aired on Iowa PBS last year. If you want to check that out, it's in my link tree in my Twitter bio. Um, Yeah, as far as plugs go, hey, just follow me on social media. Twitter is what I use the most, so check me out there. I like to think I'm a decent follow. There's a little bit of something for everybody.
Definitely. And I do appreciate your time as well. Thank you so much for coming on.
Hey, thank you, man. It truly was great. And if any of your fans have questions about early 2000s indie wrestling, tell them I'm your guy. Or if they have old like Ring of Honor or IWA Mid South tapes that they want to get rid of, um, I'll send them my address and they can mail them to me because, yeah, I got a collection.
Awesome.